it while we do pranayama or have it next to you. I'm going to be working near a wall, but I know that some of you don't have one. You could probably grab a chair instead and have that handy for some of the standing poses. And today we're going to work on extension. So before we even get into pranayama, it's maybe a good exercise to grab a strap, or in lieu of that, you could use your towel, open it up and make it long enough to hold it within the arms, wider than the shoulders. And then as you inhale, you're going to reach up and a little bit back behind you. Exhale, just gently bring the strap down. So don't get too eager or aggressive with this lifting of the arms just because the strap is there. In fact, those that don't have a strap, or even those that do, could try imagining they have a strap that connects the arms, and then maybe actually grabbing the strap, so that we often use props a little too aggressively. I talked about this in the restorative work, where you want to let the prop help you shape yourself, but you don't want to let the prop encourage you to go to battle with yourself. So then you can let the arms stay suspended and a little behind you, chest lifted, and then just give your head a little nod so that the neck is not struggling. Soften the elbows a little bit, and then drop the tension in the upper trapezius along the neck. Feel or imagine the shoulder blades. Breathe into the back ribs. And there were some, as you take a few more breaths here, just expanding into the shape of the arms, which are somewhat supported by this strap, somewhat supported by the movement of breath in the lungs and the ribs. There have been Indian sages who walked around with their arms up in the air for years. And the idea was that their prana, their energy was so great, they were able to do this, to keep the arms aloft. And then releasing the strap down. So if you just see a few people coming in late, you can join us with the pranayama. Those that came in on time, now maybe you felt how the strap has opened, they call it the bread basket. It's really the prana basket of the upper rib cage to the chest, and you can lay your hands softly on your knees, beginning to sweep the breath in, using the expansion of the diaphragm, and then exhale, release the breath out. So I've tended to teach, as you continue with your 20 breaths, I've tended to teach, particularly in the morning, this more gentle pranayama of expansion. Expanding the diaphragm like a great umbrella, which expands in turn the ribs, and then releasing the breath, but keeping the essence of expansion. So as the breath comes in, letting the mechanical aspect of the breath open the fascia, the muscles around the lungs, around the diaphragm, and then imagine like a parachute, even though it may be dropping to earth with the exhale, it still has a sense of buoyancy. One more inhale. Last exhale. Release. And then let the breath pause. And this is a practice for the nervous system. So if you find yourself getting grippy and needing to take a breath, you do. Eventually, you train the nervous system not to need a breath. Then, however, you inhale, remembering how that felt with the arms, and you capture the inhale, then you release. Holding forward to your degree could just be fingertips on the ground, could be a full layout, the head on a block. Draw your transverse abdominals gently into your spine as you fold forward, gently drawing the low belly back into the spine. And then walk the hands back toward the hips, lift the cross legs and cross them the other way, and have another seat. Now, however, I'm going to introduce a more radical form of pranayama that some of you know, which is called either Kapalabhati or bastrika breath. And I want you to use it judiciously. It's more intense. And it's created by pushing the breath out, by drawing the lower abdominals in, like someone just tapped you in the belly and you went, and all the air came out. So by pushing the breath out and then allowing it to refill, you, if I were to open my mouth and show it, you may not be able to see that on every exhale, I'm pulling the belly in. Now we can do this with our mouth open like that, but generally speaking, we keep the sound of that clogging of the mirror breath, but we have the mouth closed. So if this creates a little anxiety for you, or it's a little too buzzy, caffeinated, skip it. But let's try a round of it anyway, just so you know what it is. And again, you're doing your exhale kind of like a mini Heimlich maneuver, pulling the belly in, and that forces the breath out. Then the inhale automatically refills. You don't even have to inhale, it just does it. Here we go. Big inhale, big exhale, and again. And now, pause. Big inhale. Pause. And release. Notice any sensations and maybe a little more, again, caffeinated, pulling forward to your degree, drawing your belly into your spine. Walking your hands back. So, just wanted to introduce the Kapalabhati or the bastrika, they are forms of what's called kriya, or cleaning, not only for the digestive system, but for the nervous system. You want to use them. Let's take a twist now as I'm talking to the right. Left hand across the right knee, lift. Inhale and exhale, rotation. You want to use that type of pranayama, more forceful, with some amount of discrimination or attention to how it makes your nervous system feel, because it is definitely more of a shot in the arm, so to speak. And the goal, let's take the other twist side, is to awaken the deep energy in the belly. I'm not a Kundalini teacher per se, and I will say that those that study Kundalini yoga, a lot of them have run into, not to badmouth the practice, some issues with hyperprana, as one of my teachers would say. And hyperprana is just too much prana in the system, too wiry, and to come down from that and calm the nervous system down becomes a challenge. So that's why I offer that practice with some amount of caution. Now we're going to go down onto our backs with our towel roll on the shoulder blades. You can glide your hands to the back of your skull to lay it down. Then we're going to lift our hips a little bit up into a mid-back supported bridge. So right across the mid-back, we lift the hips up about halfway to our normal Sthiti Bandhasana and breathe. So this is yet another way. The arms can blossom out to the sides if you want, or even goalpost. Another way to open the upper shoulder girdle in a more passive form. Meanwhile, tricking you into engaging your lower abdominals, your outer glutes a little bit, getting some secret core work. And then exhale, the hips come down, and you're going to go ahead and roll over to your left side. And then crawl up onto your side body, left side body. Take your towel roll onto your lower side ribs, somewhere between lower and armpit ribs. And pretend you're at the beach. You got your left leg extended, your right foot behind it, knee pointing to the sky. Drop up your head, your left hand, and extend your left elbow straight back. Firm up now as you start to stabilize. Your right hand on the floor. Firm up the tone of the outer left hip. Those that have balance can take the right foot to the inner left leg. Little belly button to tailbone tone, so you don't overarch the low back. Those that want to take the back of the right hand inside of the right knee or grab a strap and straighten the right leg to the sky. Advanced folks. Without unweighting the nice gravitas, the gravity of the left lower body into the ground. Right straight through down that outer left leg. And then the trick here is to breathe into the form in all directions. Into the ground, spread your breath into your body or along the ground, to spread your breath to the upper leg in whatever extension it is. And so that the mold is filled, so to speak. You're going to come down and see if you can stack the legs. You can put your left fingers or palm as a prop in front of your face. Just try to lift that right leg, or your right fingers rather, your right leg and hover it off the ground. Oh, about a foot or so. Inhale. Exhale, see if you can pull your right knee up toward your right elbow, like we're doing little side crunches with the right knee, scissoring up toward the right elbow. As you remain firm on the left lower body, the lateral body. And so just a little bit of work in that outer right hip never hurt you. Okay, then from here, as we did on Friday, we're going to roll onto our chests, resituate our towel rolls to slide them under the lower rib cage, come to easy cobra on the forearms, kick out the toes, and lift the chest. Have a sense of lightness under the armpits and spreading them away from one another laterally. Toning the backs of the legs, the outer glutes. Okay, and then placing the head down on the ground, squishing that towel roll into your lower ribs, bringing the hands back for normal cobra behind the shoulders, maybe a little off the mat, a little wider. And inhale, start to lift the chest up a little bit more. And then rolling back to child's pose, you can walk your knees or crawl them toward your towel roll a bit. Place your head on the towel roll. And then stretch one arm and the other arm forward for puppy dog pose. So the hips are lifted over the knees and off of the ankles. The head's resting on the towel. Make sure the neck is comfortably elongated in the back. Then coming up to hands and knees and just rotating over to the other side. So we're going to lay our right side body down on the towel roll and prop our heads up with our right hand like you're at the beach. And you can start for balance with your left knee bent to the sky, the left foot behind the right. Your left fingers supporting or kickstanding on the ground. And then breathe into that lower aspect, that aponic ground connection. If you want to set up, if you have the balance, the left foot on the inseam of the right leg, add a level of difficulty, and then take it wherever it goes. So you can breathe the back of the left hand to the inner left knee, grab a strap and extend the left leg. And then you want to spread your breath out into the sleeve, the muscles and the bones and the fascia, and expand. Always starting from a sense of groundedness, connection to the ground through that lower right side, and then scaling the heights. Come down, you stack the left leg over the right. Left fingertips are helping balance, and you just do a little leg lift to the left leg. And then see if you can bend that left knee, tap the left elbow. And do that several times. A little work in that outer left hip in your morning body. And we're getting a bonus of attenuating along the left rib cage. And then we roll once again onto our bellies and slide the towel roll back, the upper belly, lower ribs. Come onto the forearms. You can flip the palms to the sky this time and then move the upper arm bones apart to attenuate the muscles along the backs of the shoulders. Muscles along the backs of the legs now fully engaged, pushing and scrubbing the tops of the toes into the mat. And then release the head down. Place the hands behind the shoulders. Roll the shoulders forward. Drop them forward. And then inhale, lift to your Bhujangasana. And exhale back to your child's pose or puppy dog pose. Crawl your knees forward. Drop your head to the towel, extend your arms. And breathe length up into that upper rib cage, as we did when we had the strap beginning to clasp between our hands. And we're reaching the strap over our head with every inhale. As you come up to hands and knees, and I'm just going to spin around so as not to be rude. Come up to hands and knees, you want to keep the extension of the arms as you come up to your first downward dog. You can bend your knees, drop your gaze to your toes, and inhale, lengthen from the roots of the arms right down to the area of the back of the diaphragm, the low back, the lower lat muscles, which actually anchor all the way down to the top of the pelvis. And then walk, step, jump your feet to your hands. Lengthen to a flat back with hands on shins, blocks, what have you. And exhale, forward fold. Uttanasana. The head drop. You can bend the knees or micro bend the knees. The back of the neck, the mid-spine lengthen. Get the full benefit of the stretch. Then bend the knees, come up to chair pose. And then standing. From here, we'll sweep the arms up into Tadasana and steeple grip. Binding the arms once again, without a strap this time, and then leaning over, lateral stretch to the left. Try to keep the legs toned, front and back. Inhale to center and leaning. Exhale to the right. So the same stretch we did, in a way, moments ago on the ground. You can do both sides again, because we were essentially, if I were to show this in plein air, so to speak, when we're laying on the ground, for example, have the head propped up by the hand, like so. And when you take the other side, same thing. So you can try this, taking the hands to the back of the skull, drop your left arm down, but as you start to drop toward the left, press the back of the skull into your hand, point the bent elbow to the sky. Keep the pressure of the back of the skull into the hand, come up, try the other side, left hand to back of the skull, right at the occiput with a bony ridge. And inhale, lengthen. Exhale, you don't have to go that far. Just side bend, and think of lengthening this whole left side, from the left elbow to the left heel. And press the back of the skull gently back into the hand as you come back to top. Feel how it feels. It should be a little more open. So now we're going to take our either chairs or walls, and I'm going to offer wall people wall dog and chair people chair dog. Chair people would just take the top of your chair, take your hands to it, walk back, bend your knees, inhale, squat, and exhale, create an L with the legs and the arms. And you can keep the knees slightly bent. So chair folks, go for it. Wall people, hands to wall, and walking away from the wall. Hands can be shoulder width or wider. Bend the knees like a skier, and then exhale, press away from the wall. toning the legs, particularly the quadriceps. But again, you can bend the knees as you are necessary and keep a small scoop in the pot of the belly where it meets the tops of the legs. And then inhaling, come up and walk either toward the chair or the wall. Now we're going to take Vrikasana or tree pose. So again, you have options with chairs, walls, or nothing at all. Those that don't need the wall, you can go for it by clasping your left knee in your hands, bringing the left knee out to the side, and then setting the left foot into the right leg. And any extensions of the arms you want. Those that need a chair, you just go ahead and take your left foot to the chair. The main point being now to firm up this outer right hip as you extend. And we're doing the same thing that we did moments ago. So now we've done the same action 3 times in different planes or slightly different ways. It's a lateral strengthen lengthener or dynamic stretch. Those that need the wall, you can use the wall and do the pose as well. That would be option number 3. Breathing into the whole works, and the breath being the way to ascertain if the posture is workable, is feasible. Right knee comes out, set the right foot into the inseam of the left leg, not into the knee, and then no loose hips, sink ships. We're going to tone up the left hip, and then take it where we can go. And in this case, the chronic piece, lifting up, that's great, but it's subservient or secondary to the movement down through the standing leg. And if you can imagine this whole left side body as we had earlier, lengthening along an invisible wall. Let's come down and move on. So if you have a chair, you're going to put it in the front of your mat. You can either use the chair or the wall as we come into Warrior 2. If you're going to use the chair, you've got it outside your front foot. And so that after you reverse Warrior, you can place the hand down on the chair like so. And then take your side angle pose. Those that are using the wall, same basic thing, except you can put your hand into the wall. So you take your Warrior 2. And then you're going to bend your elbow, your wall elbow, and start to reach overhead. So pick your prop. Now, what are we doing here? But yet another lateral stretch. A dynamic one where the upper side, right through the heel to the pinky finger of the same side arm, is toning and lengthening. Some people might be watching and doing and saying, well, Dan, I really don't need the prop. In fact, I could just float my arms forward with no prop because I'm so strong. That's great, but just do this for now. So let's switch sides. And again, if you're using the chair, which is really my favorite, you have it outside the front foot. You set up your Warrior 2, moving the feet apart, and then you reverse Warrior and come right down onto the chair to launch the pose. Drawing the belly in, finding your bandhas, your lower bandhas, stretching the feet apart, just expand into the pose. So the point, or one of the points of the chair, using the lower arm as a kickstand, and you could be against the wall as I showed, is that you take a little bit of the pressure out of that lower hip, that front hip. And then we come up and switch sides again to side number 1 for Trikonasana. So, dirty little secret in yoga is that a lot of the folks that do repeated standing postures like this end up having hip problems. And the reason why is I think, the core muscles are not as strong as they might be. And when you descend, now we go into warrior 2, and then straighten the front leg, inhale, and then hand on chair again, lower hand, and launch triangle pose. Breathing into the pose like a starfish to all points of the compass, both feet expanding through the tubes of the legs and the belly, both arms. But that lower arm is helping you stilt or take pressure out of the lower front of hip. Okay, so those that want to come into an Ardha Chandrasana, you can bend your front knee, slide your chair forward, take a little hop. And again, if you've got the hand on the chair, you've got some balance here. Now you can tone the whole lateral aspect of the elevated leg. Pull the toes back toward you, draw the belly button and the tailbone. Remember how we were doing these little knee things on our, and leg lifts on our side body now, which is where the payoff comes in. Is this outer bank of the extended leg is firm. Okay, and then step back and let's switch sides. It's also possible if you have both a chair and a wall to use them both in a fun way, showing a couple different variations today in which the Ardha Chandrasana leg or foot would go into the wall. So let's start with our warrior 2, other side. Inhale, straighten front leg. Exhale, drop the lower hand to the seat top. Firm the legs, tone the backs of the legs in particular, as well as the front, and then launch triangle pose. So moving the hand on the chair to the degree that allows you to open the chest, even into what would seem like a layback position, but not letting the hips, particularly that upper hip, roll open with you. That's what gets us into trouble. The hips are secure, they're square to one another. And then upper arm go to hip. You're coming into half moon, you can slide the chair forward, or I'm going to show you folks that want this leg into the wall operation. And now I've got 2 points of contact, my lower hand and the leg into the wall, with which to stabilize. It's kind of nice. And then you come down, release, and take a forward fold. So you can use your chair to do that. You can just freeform. If you're using your chair, you might be able to get your head to the top of the seat, hands down, and the knees a bit, let the spine unwind. Some don't need the chair because they have such a deep Uttanasana, they can drop further. And let's come up through chair pose in honor of our chairs. And then come up to standing. So next one is going to be Prasarita, straddle. And we'll take the chair, and I've got a nice slidey wooden floor in front of me, and take my hands to the chair, kick the feet out, feel the toe mound to outer heel connection, scoop the belly in a little bit. Last week we did that exercise with the rolled towel in the belly, scooping it in. And you can bend your knees a little bit and take a peek. I'm going to slide the chair forward with my arms and then drop my head within the arms. Push down into the chair with the palms. Not too much, just enough to create some attenuation in the back extensors. So palm push, legs are pushing, belly scooping, and breathe into the back ribs. Breathe into the back ribs, lengthen the back of the neck. Draw the chin a little toward the lifted chest. See if you can put your right hand down on the ground and press. And see if you can start to just rotate your gaze to your left armpit. Legs haven't changed. Then put the right hand back on the chair, maybe a little knee bend to do that. The left hand goes straight down under your chest, pushes into the ground like a weird one-arm push-up. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, just take a little look on your right armpit. Keep it lifted, keep pushing down into the chair, the right palm. Now both hands come down to the floor under your heart. Toning the legs, lift to a flat back, and exhale, fold. Drop the head, let it dangle. Walk the hands back through the legs. Maybe you're lucky enough to get the head to the ground. And the elbows start to bend into a tripod headstand formation. This is for the flexible people. Get your elbows squeezed together. And the spine elongates, crown of the head moving toward the ground. That's for the flexible few. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, bend your knees a little. One hand to one hip, the other hand to the other, and you come up. And then toe heel the feet together. So let's do a little bit of work with extended leg. So if you know extended leg, here's the deal. You can grab your strap or grab your first two fingers, and once you've got the strap in your hand around the left foot, you're going to extend the leg forward. So those that are old pros, you've got your balance. Maybe you need something for your right hand against the wall, but you basically sling up your left leg, strap around the foot, and then you go for it. And if you can go out to the side, you do. Some don't even need the strap. They just hold the knee. They reach for the big toe. They extend the leg. And what's holding me from falling over? It's, again, this tone of the lateral body on the aponic side. Do both sides. Now, if you're sitting there going, no, that doesn't work for me. You go to your old trusty chair, and you take the chair to the wall, you take the foot on one leg over the top of the chair gingerly. You could also go down onto the seat of the chair and I like to have the foot into the wall. It's not necessary. You could be working free form on your chair. And you could use whatever you need for balance. So I could take a hand to the wall. And the value of this is that if I have a chair on the wall, or the leg on the chair rather, I can push down dynamically into the top of the chair. I can resort my hips. And I can essentially use the chair like I would use a weight machine, which didn't move, to there. I've just chiropractically adjusted my left lumbar. So do both sides, whether you're using the prompt or whether you're using a balanced pose extension. And even if you're super good, sometimes using this dynamic pressure downward is a good thing and will pay dividends. Okay, so now we're going to go with our chair. Once again, I'm going to offer different things. I know people have different props and so forth. You can either go right into your Natrajasa, and I'm just going to show that because it's been a while. And all of these flow from this lateral work that we did from the get-go. Those that can just reach and hold the right foot in the right hand, press the hips forward, reach up through the left arm, inhale to get long, and exhale, start to glide forward, creating a nice even arc in the back, then go for it. However, those that want to work a little more carefully and maybe intelligently, take your chair to the wall, and your chair is about a few feet, 2 or 3 feet from the wall, and I've got my back shin on the chair, and take my arms up the wall, and the foot that's near the wall a little bit. And then once again, I'm going to push down into the chair with that bent knee, back leg. I'm going to press the hips forward as well, relax the throat. And this is my dancer's pose. Maybe I can reach back with the same side arm as the leg on the chair and simulate the motion that we have in freestanding. Then you switch sides. So even if you're an old pro, if you do the work here with getting the mechanics, I've got the other shin on the chair is maybe 3 feet, 2.5 feet from the wall. Reach my hands up the wall. Same thing as we did at the beginning of class with a strap between the arms. And I lift the chest, I bring the breath in, I bend the front knee, but then I push down the shin into the chair. I'm just going to engage the muscles along the back of that back leg. Maybe I reach back to the chair, top of it with the same side arm. Okay, and then carefully come out using your hands on the wall. So take a forward fold just in case you had any imperfections in your low back from the extension of Natrajasa. And if you're flexible, your hands walk back to the outsides of the feet. and maybe beyond. Let's duck toe the toes out, sit down into malasana, laying the arms on top of the knees. If you can't get your heels to the ground, you can use a towel roll. And then palms to heart center, palms together, elbows inside the knees. Press the inner knees into the elbows, elbows back into the knees, and spread open the collarbones. Those that want to place their hands on the ground, lift the heels up, lean forward, scoop the belly in, and fly into crane pose. You're welcome to it. And some people don't like to be squatting at all. And you can have a block that you're sitting on instead, or two blocks, and then you can imagine yourself to be an empress. And you may want to do that for the next move because we're going to take the right arm inside the right knee like that and push it. And then we'll reach the left arm up to the sky. And again, it's just a chest opener. And then we switch sides. So we push the back of the left arm into the inside of the left knee, reach up to the right arm. Now that's the easy way to do a more complex pose that maybe some of you did at one point in a squat, wrapping the one arm around the leg like so, to lift the chest the other way, just to show you the craziness involved in yoga. And some people's bodies work great and they don't have any skill, or prerequisite skill. They can just do it. And you don't get any prizes for going into postures and contortions that don't serve you well. However, it's still fun to try and get to your ultimate place. So let's pull the right knee in, hook the right elbow around the outer part of it and around the front, just lift the chest. Let's push the left leg down into the ground. Let's push the left hand down into the ground. Now, if you're stable here, you can reach your right arm up to the sky and reach for the left foot and you can grab a strap and hold the strap. Keep the chest lifted, however, in the same attenuation. So those that were happy right here, you stay right here. Those that can go forward a little bit with either strap held in the right hand, pulling against your bind, or the hand on the foot, that's fine. Okay? Let's switch sides. So this is a variation of Marichasana. Maricha is a sage, an Indian sage. We cradle the left knee. We draw the belly in and find our core, as if we were able to just float up into a Pilates move. And we're going to just press the right palm down outside the right hip. We're going to push the right leg into the ground. We're going to lift the chest and find all the attenuations that allow us to grow into the pose, creating dynamic stretching and strengthening. So you can stay here. This is an excellent move. When the left arm comes up, it reaches for the mound of the left big toe. If that's a stretch, pardon the pun, strap around that right foot, and you just grab the strap with your left arm, which is inside that left knee. And I like to just lay back like a water skier away from the forward fold. Once I get down in there, I strengthen my spinal erector muscles, keep me tall. Okay, so then switch, shake out your legs, checking on time. So just to show you, I showed you what I think a nice way to do Marichasan, which back in the day used to look like this, right? Foot pulls in, I bind around the right leg, and I put my head down to my chin. Why is this not a great idea? Well, it's not necessarily evil, but there's no setup. There's no setup. And just whipping into the pose like that, particularly as one gets a little bit further on, is flirting with potential disaster in my experience. And it's just the one time when you just fly into a pose, we're going to pull our right knee back and now take it into a hurdle or stretch behind us. And if you need a block, you're going to sit under your left hip. Might even be more comfortable with a blanket. So I'm really propping up. And why is it not good to just jump into those asymmetrical postures anymore? Well, because if the hips are slightly off, the low back's going to suffer. It's going to show you the opposite side. The back toes are tucked in, they're not pointed out, just to show you they're not plantar flexed. They're kicked out, pointing your toes. So see if you can get into this. It's essentially like a side angle pose sitting down, or a Gaussian gate pose. So now you can take the strap around that front foot and reach to it with your same side arm. And just lean back. So I'm going to, instead of trying to take my lateral body down into the stretch yet, I'm going to lay back. I'm going to push my extended leg down into the ground. I'm going to get long and strong through the lateral body. Maybe I bring the back arm up to the sky like that. Ah, make it feel good, make it feel regal. Maybe I take the upper hand, bend the elbow, take the hand to the back of the head, press the head into the back of the hand. So that could be it for you. But otherwise, you can start to lean forward, and some of you don't need a strap. You can just reach for your front big toe. But I start to take the right elbow down with the front elbow that you're working with. And I'm still pulling against the strap. I'm still trying to keep loftiness under those underside ribs. Because remember, we did a posture earlier on the lateral body where there's a towel roll under the rib cage. And then the upper arm comes over. For those that are cursed with flexibility, it actually reaches the front toes, and the chest rotates up toward the sky. That's the progression. Okay, let's try the other side. And I'll just switch my position. I'm sitting on this block so that I can be somewhat elevated. And for beginners, it's enough to just strap up the extended leg to hold it with the same side arm and lean back. Lean back and feel the muscle resistance and length. To get length or maintain length as you forward fold, whatever it is for you. Bending the front elbow, dropping down like a side angle pose without collapsing into the underside ribs. So don't just, again, back in the day, we just throw ourselves into this and grab, trying to go down as deep as possible and then pull ourselves out of the pit. And maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. Okay, so that's a pretty intense one. And we'll finish with a little Baddha Konasana, Vishnu Konasana. We'll bring the soles of the feet together. And you can always sit on something like a block. You can take your hands behind you to start and open your chest. We did earlier in class. And then take the hands to the outer edges of the feet. And use them, again, as ways to counter. So leaning and laying back on the inhale. And then as you come forward and your inner legs make themselves known, you try not to just simply collapse. So there was a lot of talk back in the day. I remember the voices of these so-called authentic Ashtanga yoga teachers saying, you must touch. You must touch your head to the ground. And so they come and push you down. And so your head hits the ground. Or take their hands and shove your hips down until they bruise. So you don't want to do that. You can use a block, or you can have your forearms on a chair. And you want to be patient and informed about what your body can do. One more, before I start getting carried away with stories, horror stories of the past. Upavishta, so we've already done this with our chairs, right? We slid the chair forward. So you might have your chair near you. If you're supremely inflexible, you're probably blessed. And you put your forearms on the chair. Watch the latest episode of your favorite show and just eventually take the head to the forearms. And rather than being passive like we were a little more last week, breathe into the form. So try to bring your intelligence, expand the limbs. Now, if you're cursed with flexibility, then you eventually start to walk forward, breath after breath, and see where you can go. Toes point to the sky. So I can do these things, but it doesn't mean anything if I'm not invested or investing my breath into the posture. I'm not staying in there with the breath. The outer form of the pose is really secondary. Okay? So let's come out of this, and I'm going to leave Shavasana up to you since we're pressed for time. You can do that after we finish. Let's come to seated. See how the body feels. From where we started, shoulders are relaxing now. Collarbones relaxing with the eyes closed. You take one hand to your heart center, one hand to your belly, and just soften these points. Imagine the line from the crown of the head, through the heart center, through the belly center, to the tailbone, and make subtle shifts forward and back with the spine to release any residual tension that may have incurred or occurred during the practice. Palms to heart. Namaste. Good to see everybody.